All right, welcome to your Ag Finance Week 12. And what I wanted to do in this video was take a look at the homework that's assigned, but then also show you how to complete this in Microsoft Excel. Now, the work I'm doing in Microsoft Excel is what you've got to do, but the PDF I have here in the homework is what's given to you. So the idea with this video is I'm going to step through all 8 questions in the homework, show you how to do those in Excel. And hopefully the point of this is, number one, to show you time value of money and relate the concepts that we have in this week. But number 2 is, how do you do this in Excel itself? That kind of sets the stage for the next several weeks, where we're going to be doing more and more time value of money work using Excel. Let's take a look. All right, when you open up your homework, you're going to see this file over here to the left, time value of money homework. That homework, I want you to put into an Excel file here. And what I've done is already done most of that work, which is what you will replicate. All right, so when you open up Excel, what I did, simply just to give you a tip, is I just copied the homework out, the question, and I just paste it right into each box there. And so this first one is actually looking at per month. It says what is the payment, but it should be payment per month. But anyway, as you go through there, that's how I got started. What I also did was, as we talked about in the homework, is there's always this concept of money, which is sometimes is a payment, but sometimes it's a present value or the future value. But in this case, I'm going to put in that money, the time, and the rate. And those are really the main factors each time. Now, as we go through these problems, it kind of starts to become a little bit jumbled up. In other words, sometimes we're looking at future value. Sometimes we're looking at we have a present value. Sometimes we're looking at a payment that we have. And so each of these will vary just a bit. But hopefully this video helps you. So let's take a look at the homework. First one is, we're going to purchase a home, $65,000. We want to pay on it for 30 years, 8.5%. Now, every time you look at rate, right here, example in this first homework question, 8.5% is a rate that you will pay. That is nearly always quoted per year. So I've got to adjust that down to monthly if I'm looking at monthly. But anytime you think about rate, it's usually an annualized value. And so we're going to go with that concept. So let's go over, what do we know? Well, we know that the present value of the home is $65,000. Now, also, whenever you deal with present value, I usually add a negative in the front of that. Present value is a discounting concept, as you saw in the weekly presentation. So it's usually bringing values back. So to deal with the negative, or to deal with time value of money, there's always a positive, like a payment, and a negative to pay that payment off, to pay that loan off in this case. So what you do, and you can not worry about this, or when you get your answers, you got to realize they'll have negatives in front of them, because when you're calculating time value of money, especially in Excel, it's looking to balance out some value today to some value through the future and make that pay the loan off. So instead of getting a negative payment, what I do, anytime I do with present value, calculating it or entering it, I always assume it's going to have a negative in front of it. So I put a negative in front of 65,000. Time, I'm going to double click on that. What I did here is I just pressed equals, and I said, well, it's a 30-year time period, but 12 months a year. So that's going to be 360. On the rate, I put in 0.085, that's 8.5%, divided by 12, and that gives me the rate with all the decimals I need. So the question is, what's the payment? Well, to do this in Excel, what you can do is click the F. There's a lot of ways to do this, but click the F of X function, and it's going to bring up all these choices. And I'm going to say, well, I'm after payment, and it's going to tell me I've got a solution. So double click on payment, and then it gives me basically the fill in the answers. So instead of you typing the answers here, what you do is you just choose the cell. So for example, my rate's already calculated per month. My time is calculated the number of months, and my present value already has a negative in front of it, and that's 65,000. Well, as soon as I press enter, the answer is that my payment on my house will be $499.79 per month, if that's the deal. Now, it's really simple here. If you said, well, what if I'm looking at a home for $80,000? Then that's a $615 payment. So you see how it works by learning to do this in Excel. All right, so there's your answer for the first one. What about the second one? All right, what if we can only afford a payment of $400 a month? We still have the 8.5 for 30 years. What's the price of the home can we afford? Let's say that's all we've got. Well, let's check that out. So what I did was I just copied all of my work and pasted it down here below, and then I edited it to make sure that it's going to work for me. So present value is no longer known. That's the question. Time, same thing. equals 30 times 12. Rate, same deal, equals 8.5% or 0.085 divided by 12. And then finally, payments of $400 a month is my payment. So I've actually got a dollar value here at payment, but I'm looking for this one. So come up here, same deal, go over here to my formula, present value, got a formula for that, double click, there it is. Rate is going to be that value. N is time, that's going to be that value. Payment is going to be that value. And when we press enter, we get a negative 52,000. Remember, that is actually a positive. That's because time value of money is taking the positive $400 payment and trying to pay something off. So it starts off with a negative so it can zero itself out. So how do you fix this? Well, lots of ways. You can double click, just put a negative in front of PV like I did in the previous problem, and you'll get a $52,000 value there. But basically the idea, of course, is going to be we can afford as much of a home. If we're only looking to pay $400 a month, we're going to have to come down to $52,000 as far as a home goes. All right, let's say that third question. All right, we still want that $65,000 home, but we can only handle $400 a month. What about rate? Can you negotiate the interest rate? And the answer is yes, you can. It depends on how much risk you are showing, but let's look at what that would work out. So again, I copied my work, brought it down here, and then edited it as I needed. So I went back to a negative $65,000 PV, which means my home's $65,000. I went to time, and it still equals 30 times 12, 360. And I left interest blank because that is our question. Payment, we know that also. We want the $400 a month. So the question now is, what about rate? So once again, it's one of the variables. If we know a couple of the rates of the values, we can calculate the other ones. So there's a rate formula. Perfect, same concept. Time is still that. Payment is still that. PV is still the same. So now I'm after rate. You notice that's not one of the choices in there. So I hit enter here and I get a rate. However, this rate is based on paying every month. So it's not really the rate we need. Actually, that's a payment per month. There's 12 of those in a year, so I put in 12 equals. My answer times 12, that's really 6.24%. Remember, looking up here at the top, you're looking at a loan at 8.5%. Can't kind of get what we need at $400 as a house, so we get rid of rate as a known function and start to go to our banker and say, well, we actually feel like the rate's too high. What can we do to negotiate that down? So there's some ways we can do that. Might get us down to 6.24%. If we can, then we could make this money work out. How do you get the rate lower? Well, improve your credit score, put more money down, do an automatic withdrawal out of your bank account, move your money from wherever it is to the bank that you're currently at, even can hopefully improve that. So there's lots of ways. Go to another lender and look for more competitive rates. It really just depends on what strategies you can employ. But time value money will let you know the answers. All right, next one. We're going to shift gears. We're looking at a yearly payment that's needed to retire at about $2.5 million. We've got 30 years to save. Now we could discuss that $2.5 million, but all of you pretty much depending on when you start, but also when you retire and what you're going to earn. But $2.5 million at the end of 30 years is not too difficult to estimate that you'll need in today's world as it grows in the future. So got $2.5 million I need. I got 30 years to save, and I think I can earn 17% across these 30 years as an investment account. So those are the things that we have. Let's see what works out. So what are the variables I know? Well, I know my future value, in this case, times 2.5 million. I know my time at 30 years, and I'm also looking at saving per year, so I'm going to keep this at a annual rate. 17%, I move the 0.17 to be the answer. And so the question is, what is the payment that is needed per year? So once again, I come up here to my formula bar and I'm looking at a payment now. It's going to show me it's got a solution. Here are the answers. Rate, 17, time, 30, future value, 2.5 million. Hit enter, and it looks like I would need about $3,800 per month. Now see the negative in front of us? That's because we're looking at different values there. Just simply put that negative in front of my payment answer and it'll turn it to be a positive. So I got to pay about $3,800 per year into a retirement account to develop that earnings. Now, you might say there's no way to do that. This is not really how you would want to do it, but just in general, that's about $320 a month. So for many of you, you're going to look at buying a car right away out of school. You're probably going to pay 2 to 3 times that amount just for a car. So really, when you're talking about taking care of yourself financially, putting money back every month would not be a bad move either, and it's not really that hard to do, but you got to get started. If you don't have 30 years to do this, in fact, let me leave that in there. If you don't have 30 years, I can go tweak that. Let's just say, what does it look like at 25 years? Well, you'll see 3,800 jump to 8,500, quite a bit more. So time is an important part to retiring. All right, let's go to the next one because that's what that's all about. Time is one piece, but money you earn is the next. So maybe you don't think you can get 12%. So what I did was I copied my work, brought it down here to the next problem, and I just had to tweak the rate. And so I did. Same kind of idea. In fact, I'll just copy that and bring that answer down there. And now we can look at, well, if you don't earn 17%, if you just earn 12, you're going to pay nearly 3 times the amount of money. So time is worth quite a bit, but rate is also worth quite a bit. So you've got to be aggressive in your investing. So time and rate both play factors. I would say the number one, though, is time. Time is the one you can control the most. But rate is another variable, so that just gives you an example. All right, let's move down to the next problem, 6. We're going to look at like an investment analysis, and there's lots of ways to do investment analysis, but I want to talk about time value of money first. So we're looking at an investment. It's going to pay us $750 at the end of each year for 4 years. They're looking at us giving them $2,700 to get into this opportunity. Assuming you need to earn 6% on your money, should you get involved in this decision? Well, let's look at the variables. So what I did was I looked at what do I know? Well, I know I'm going to get a payment of $750. I know the rate is 0.06, and I know the time is 4. The question is, what's the value today? I know they want $2,700, but what's the value? So again, let's go up here and take a look. Present value. Find the answers there with our information. Rate is here, time is here, and payment is there. And we hit enter, and again, we get a negative, but that's what you're always going to get in front of present value. So put a negative in there. And you know what this is worth? $25.98, given the information I have. If they want me to give $2,700, that is too much. I wouldn't buy it. All right, so there's how we look at that. What would you pay? Well, the most you would pay is $25.98. In fact, if you want to get a better deal on this, anything less makes this a good investment to get that information back. All right, you can play with these values actually to see what happens to this number as you change. All right, so there's the deal on 6. Let's jump to 7. Same kind of idea, except I'm getting more specific. Let's say you have an oil royalty. That oil royalty is looking at a well that's pulling oil out. It's looking at paying you about $5,000 at the end of the year for 10 years. So if you want to earn 10%, what would you pay to get that land, to get this money? That may be a way that somebody already has the money that they're earning and they want to get some money today. It may be that you're looking at buying some land and it's already earning that and you get the oil royalty as you buy it. Lots of ways. It's just an example. So what do we know? Well, we know same kind of stuff. In fact, I just copied this down here to use it here. $5,000 is the payment now. The rate is 0.1, which is 10%. And that's what we need to earn for this. We got 10 years to earn it. What's the present value? Same idea. In fact, I can copy. It's the same problem. Paste this down there. Now I'm looking at these variables in my problem, and that's worth about $30,000, $30,722. So that's what it's looking. That's the most you would pay for this opportunity, for this situation. Let's say that they're looking at this and they're saying, I tell you what, I got a deal for you. What would you pay us if we pay you one of the payments up front? So the next question is, pay one payment today and then you get the remaining over 9 years. Does that change what it's worth? Well, let's take a look. So I copied this down, pasted it down here below, except I'm not looking at 10 years to wait. I'm only looking at 9. So if I copy this down here, it brings it down. And it looks like, well, it's worth a little bit less, but I also get $5,000 today. So taking that $5,000 I get today and adding those up means it's really worth $33,000 now to me. So what does this tell you? This tells you that in time value of money, when you're looking at present value, if you've got to wait to get the money, that means it's worth less. If you don't have to wait as long, for example, I get one payment today, then actually it makes this whole concept worth more. So $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow. You can apply that in lots of ways. I just actually working on my taxes and I applied that to that concept as well. So time value money is an important concept. Hopefully this homework teaches you some of those and how to use Excel. Make sure you take a look at the homework and get this done yourself. Have any questions, just reach out and I'll try to help you. But hopefully this video gives you an outline of how to get the homework done. Thanks.